We'll figure it out.
Oh my god, I forgot that I wrote some stupid shit on this list.
Hello, and welcome to the Inside Game of the Year Awards.
This is our game of the year for 2023. You know, okay, I'm just right off the bat.
We're only a little bit late.
Well, okay, you say that.
We waited until the year was over, unlike everyone else.
There's at least one website that I follow that once tried to do game of the year in January.
Yeah.
And I appreciated the soundness of their logic, and it was the worst fucking idea they've ever had in their life. But we're going to make it work.
We're going to make it work.
Because we want to be here, and those people didn't.
And sure,
Wait.
we waited more than enough time after the year was over.
As of this recording,
Yeah.
it's January 8th, so we're not that late. 1 week.
That's a whole week.
1 week ago, we were having our New Year's celebration at my house.
That's a whole week
It's not that long.
and some change.
I didn't even do shit for like Monday, like Tuesday, Wednesday. Come on. Nobody works that week. What?
Wow.
Don't tell anyone I said that.
That's insightful.
I mean, they don't know that I wasn't working because they were getting assignments from me, but in my mind, I wasn't working.
Some people here could get into legal trouble.
Yeah. Not me, though,
Not Daniel.
because they don't know my last name. They don't know who I am. This could be anybody.
Daniel Blank, attorney at law.
Boy, I'm looking at this list for our Game Awards, and I forgot that I really wrote some bullshit.
Oh, yeah, you did.
For supporting actor, I'm just going to say, well, okay. First of all, we should talk about how we're going to do this.
Yeah, okay, let's go for it.
No, please, after you.
Describe.
Please.
I want to know how you were.
Well, so we have a category. Okay, so let's start with the inception of this. Why are we doing this? Who cares? We care. That's why we're doing it.
It's good enough for me.
You'll see this in an episode of Nino Kuni about 8 months from now, but I and B and Tommy were all incredibly disappointed generally with the Game Awards.
Yes.
Really not a lot of focus on the games, a lot of focus on Honkai Star Rail
Yeah.
and
Not a lot of focus on the
Warframe.
games, not a lot of focus on the awards.
Yeah, I mean, they were shooing people. I watched some footage from the Golden Globes yesterday, and I was like getting stressed out remembering the Game Awards,
Wow.
where it was like 15 seconds or 30 seconds, whatever it was, and they would shoot people off stage, and it's like, no one else does that. Why would you do this?
Yeah.
It really felt like it was in bad taste.
I remember speaking of that, I remember reading an article after how bad the Game Awards was. A person saying, hey, but remember what the Game Awards used to be like when they were on Spike TV? This is so much better than that. So
I don't
should be excited.
I think it's the same.
And I'm like, it's the same.
If memory serves.
Well, there's less women, so therefore there was less overt misogyny.
Right. Well, but in the Spike TV Awards, they had a lot of celebrities.
Yeah.
Men and women.
Did.
If memory serves, Jessica Alba announced the first trailer for Dark Souls 2, a game that I'm sure she plays religiously to this day.
Absolutely.
Even Dark Souls fans don't like that fucking game.
And with that, we decided to come up with our own Game Awards.
Yeah.
That is sort of a hodgepodge of taking categories from the quote-unquote eponymous Game Awards, but also
Our own stuff.
other award shows and just stuff that we thought would be interesting.
At some point, we're definitely going to be consulting the intern because I'm going to forget. I'm going to forget games that came out. Like, I'm already looking at some of our categories, and I'm like, who else is a good lead actor? But we just want to talk about what we did last year. I think we had a nice time playing video games. I had a nice time.
I had a nice time. I played
A lot
more
of good
video
games.
games last year than any other year on record. By, I can only imagine, a wide margin.
I finished 18 video games last year.
I finished... Where was it? 70.
Wow. That my like when I started keeping track of this, but we do this for backlog purposes, by the way. We're not weird. I think my highest was like 35 or something. So truly a record year. Tell me, how
Yeah.
many games did you finish this year?
I think we counted. I think she did 5.
That's pretty good. That's like a normal human good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I think most of them were like longo games, or at least over 3 hours.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna walk through some of these categories.
Little shorties.
Maybe I'll put some title cards here.
Title cards.
Oh yeah,
Here.
was it this year that you finished Super Kiwi 64,
I did finish Super Kiwi 64.
a 2-hour video game you guys should play?
It is an amazing game.
That game,
It is an amazing
that
game.
little shorty. Not that we have record numbers here at No Technical Difficulty /
Was a
Inside Gaming.
milestone.
It's the third highest views. You want to know what the three?
On YouTube.
Can you guess right now what the 3 highest views of our videos? I'll give you a hint. 2 of them are little shorties.
Oh. God, you're forcing me to remember the little shorties.
So number one is
So-
Star Fox 64
Oh, okay.
with like
Yeah,
130
that's
views.
So Star Trek.
Number 2 is the first episode of Metal Gear Solid,
Tomy.
which is all Tomy.
Coming in clutch.
And number 3 with 77 views is Super Kiwi 64.
Wow.
So people like that game. People who don't even know anything because they're watching our fucking YouTube channel.
Hey, we say it how it is.
I hope to have 77 views per video by the end of 2024.
Yeah, I mean we didn't hit our goal of 100 for 2023. So might as well aim for 70
Well,
in 2024.
Nino Cooney is averaging between 6 and 12 views,
Yeah, well that also tracks.
and I don't know if that counts for you. It certainly counts one for me.
Hey, it's more than one view.
Yeah, I should start putting the iPad in front of my child and just like playing it. Oh, he watched it.
Yeah.
He loves Nino Cooney too. No, he doesn't. Nobody fucking likes that game. Anyway,
Wow. So I guess let's start with just general stuff.
so we have a bunch of categories here. First one we're going to start with, and so I should say for folks that don't, can they see this spreadsheet or?
Yeah, sure. We can. Should I just put this on the screen?
Sure. So there were columns for B and Tomy and myself to
maybe
fill
you might
out.
not want this to be shown.
Our behind the scenes, but they can see all my funny jokes. I forgot. I filled this out fucking like weeks ago. So yeah, as you can see, there were columns for the 3 of us to fill out.
Yeah.
Tommy and I did not do our homework. Tommy did less of her homework than I did.
Yeah, truly. And some of the things in Tommy's column I filled out while asking her because she didn't want to do it herself.
Hey, that still counts. But yeah, let's walk through these. Let's talk about each one, kind of what our thoughts were. Some of these are going to be incredibly brief, as you can tell, but
Yes.
and a lot of this is going to be Alan Wake. I'm going to spoil that shit right now for the
Oh,
audience.
yeah, absolutely.
This is Alan Wake, and that's what this fucking podcast video is.
Yes. Or,
So-
yeah, our VOD. I hope you are paying appropriately. So number 1, community support. I said Remedy.
And I agreed, which is why I wrote nothing.
They're just great.
So, okay, I think when I'm thinking of community support, I think like the traditional, right, way is like,
Yeah.
oh, Destiny, they put more fucking emotes in the game, so that's great community support. Fuck that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who listen to the fans and put shit in their game that people want. And the theme for this podcast is going to be, man, Alan Wake is what everybody wanted out of Alan Wake 2.
Yeah. Well, also to the old school or like community support stuff, they did because you played the game later than I did. I played it like right away,
You
and
played it like the 5 seconds after it came out.
yeah, and they did a ton of patches, like really quickly, one after the other. Just why wait 3 months to get your first patch in? And they would do I think a couple times in multiple patches in a week, to fix
Like
stuff.
hot fixes and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
hot fixes and stuff. And because I was weird and was like, Remedy's awesome, I actually read all of their patch notes.
oh, yeah.
And some of them, they're full of character.
Yeah.
And you don't usually get that.
No, usually you just get like a mess of stuff, or you're Nintendo for Smash Bros. And you just say changes were made.
Yeah.
And nobody knows.
Yeah. Like there was a couple of things where they were like, we fixed this unless you liked it the other way.
Yeah. And then to kind of cap off all that, basically in December, right after the Game Awards, I think the Monday after the Game Awards, they put out New Game Plus,
Yeah.
which had, I didn't play it, but you showed me all the new content. And that's like real substantive, like new content that fucking matters to the story and is like worth playing through again, which I will do because I love that game. But and that's all free. All that shit is free.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay anything beyond the price of the game. So yeah, congratulations to Remedy Entertainment
Yay!
for
Remedy.
you will send a crown made of gold to your offices. We're not going to do that.
Thank
That
you.
statement was made in jest.
I will also note before doing this that everything on this list, if I remember correctly, came out in 2023.
I hope so.
So just tossing that out there.
Well, not everything.
Not everything.
Maybe I can't remember what. By the end, I got a little weird.
So favorite debut indie. I think Viewfinder is just amazing. But
Well,
clearly Dredge is the winner.
Nobody fucking agrees with you. So I did not play Viewfinder. Is this a camera game? Or is this something else?
It's what yes and no.
Is it better or worse
It's
than Umurangi Generation?
it is very different from that game.
Fair enough.
It's kind of a combination of not even a combination. It's kind of a combination of Portal and Superliminal, where you take pictures and the pictures.
Oh, you line them up? Or
You
whatever?
line them up with the world, and it changes what you can interact with,
Oh, yeah. You know what? I think I've seen this.
and it's just awesome. It also reminds me of the game Perspective by what was that one school project? I forgot what the school was. Digipen.
Digipen? Oh,
Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
the Art Institute of California?
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of, I guess, closer to like Superliminal meets Perspective. And it's just really cool.
Is it like open where you can like do weird stuff, or is it just like one solution?
Oh, no, you can do totally weird things.
That, you know what? That sounds like a fun mechanic. That sounds like taking the idea of Portal and just like building. I mean, any game that like starts with Portal and gets weird is always a cool idea.
And no shade, but it is a puzzle game. So I imagine it just wouldn't naturally be on your radar.
No, I mean, I didn't even know what it was until
Yeah.
you said a thing that reminded me of like a Nintendo Direct or something.
Just watching you play.
You know what's not a puzzle
watching
game?
you play Manifold Garden was pretty.
What are you talking about? I've never played that game in my life. You know what's not a puzzle game is Dredge.
I've heard.
Tomi's not here right now, but she would agree with me. Dredge is. I had some notes for this discussion.
Yeah.
And for Dredge, I wrote I believe I wrote existential fear and loneliness and cute boat. So like,
Oh,
I
like a cute boat.
like the opening moments of that game where you're just fishing and there's like weirdos around is like it's like weirdly serene. And I think a lot of speaking of community support, like they ended up adding like a safe mode or like a mode where like the monsters don't attack you basically, so you can just chill and fish and do all that stuff. And like just the straight like fishing and managing your boat is like really nice and really relaxing. It's like Stardew Valley relaxing. It's like a very chill game. But when you add in the Eldritch horror elements, it's like I don't know. It's like creepy enough where you're like, okay, you're gonna get that story with the creepy twist ending, which I won't spoil here, even though it's Game of the Year. We can spoil whatever we want.
I don't know how. I don't
Maybe
know.
I'll spoil it later. Maybe
I don't know anything about the game except for fishing and Eldritch Horror.
Yeah,
I've been told I'm not allowed to know until I play it for the channel.
but yeah, well, yes, that's part of the reason why I'm not spoiling. But also like in the course of the game, you go to different islands and you're on your quest or whatever, and it has that Zelda Wind Waker feel where like you remember in Wind Waker when you go to the island where Jabu, whatever.
Jaboon, yeah.
Whatever the Jabu Jabu version is, and it's like a fucked up island and like bad things happen.
Yeah.
And you don't go on it. You don't like set foot on the island, but there's like a suggestion that like bad things happened.
Yeah.
And you just talk to Jaboon and then you kind of fuck off. That's like that. Imagine that, but like stretched out over a game and that level of interest with each island where you're like, oh, like what happened here? I want to
Maybe I
know.
shouldn't go there. Maybe, but I kind
But
of
you
want
have to. But you have to
You have to.
catch fish.
Interesting.
So, and I say that partly because like you're not like a character that walks on the island or whatever. But in any event, like I think it captures that feel, and I think Dredge is like, I'm excited to play that new DLC. I'm excited to see what these folks do afterwards because this is a cool idea.
I'll just say I'll say 3 and 4. Just toss it to accessibility and DLC/expansion. We'll do accessibility first. I put God of War Ragnarok. Just because
So comprehensive, right?
it is ridiculous, the things, just the changing of the colors, control schemes. It's amazing. I mean, if anyone who's played a first party Sony game in the last
I think they're
the
all
last couple of years
like
knows.
Ratchet and Clank and Last of Us 1 and
Us
2. Like they all have like color, like different colorblind modes. I mean, this is like, I don't have any of the disabilities that would require me to use this. Although that being said, God of War Ragnarok does a thing where you don't have to tap the square button for the QuickTime events; you just hold it down.
Yeah.
And even that, for me, who can successfully tap the button, I just like not having to do that. It just
Yeah.
feels better. It doesn't
Well,
cramp my thumb up.
I frequently when playing them used the like color shift
Uh huh.
to notice things in the environment.
Yeah.
Because I'm colorblind, and so like I needed it.
Yeah.
And that was nice that you could be like, collectibles are one color, enemies are another color. You know.
Or like the specific identifying, like
specific-
every enemy is going to be this.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's helpful.
Yeah, that was incredible.
That's also just good, even if you're not colorblind, just like to help identify. If you're not a gamer, right? Like that's
Yeah.
a different kind of accessibility. But
That's true. I hadn't thought of it that way.
don't get me started on the Sekiro conversation. Anyway, is difficulty accessibility? We're not going to have that conversation here.
Aside, I think my screen is dying, so
Well, they can't tell in the recording.
can't tell on the recording. So we're lovely.
That's all that matters.
Um,
DLC
favorite DS
expansion.
So Daniel,
I have something to say here.
why isn't Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty in this?
It's funny you say that, B, because that's exactly how I feel about that expansion and where it should be. I was very confused this year because I was under the impression that Cyberpunk came out 3 years ago or 2 years ago. When the fuck did it come out? 2022?
3 years ago, 2020.
It came out in 2020?
Came out in 2020.
Get the fuck
I
out of
think it was
here.
November 2020.
I could have sworn that shit came out in 2021. But anyway, Phantom Liberty comes out and all the fucking major outlets are treating it like it's its own game.
Yep.
And I mean, I've played Cyberpunk. I played Cyberpunk when it came out for about 10 hours. I played it when the first big, like, we're going to fix the cops and the cars and all the AI and stuff patch came out, like 1.5 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then I played it, and now I'm playing it much more with Phantom Liberty.
December 2020.
That is wild to me. I don't. Phantom Liberty has. I've played. I don't know, a couple of quests so far. I'm still early on in it, but they're great quests, and I can tell. Like you can tell that. Contrary to the rest of the game, which is basically like it's either going to be a brain dance, a shootout, or a driving game. Basically, like the DLC missions are like much more built out. Like there's like platforming sections, and there's like
Oh, interesting.
weird like set piece moments that are like really fun. And it's not just going to tell you like, hey, I got this brain dance, and then you do the brain dance or whatever. So like it's clearly like well made, and it probably is like one of the better DLCs that came out this year, maybe the best.
I'd say the primary reason it's not on here is, again, when we're recording it, neither of us had played the DLC before the end of 2023.
That's true. That's true. I just started playing it like 5 days ago.
I mean, everything you're saying, just to add, everything you're saying, so I played all of Cyberpunk 2077 before Phantom Liberty in 2023. And it felt like all of the writing, any good writing in the game was sort of an accident.
Yeah. V sucks at the beginning, but he's growing on me a little bit. Now that I'm making him more of a nice guy.
I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. I have issues with the way they handled V, but
I mean, he sucks. I agree. Like a lot of the characters are just like, "Sup, bro?"
so
Thopter.
favorite indie game of the year.
Oh, we should also mention that Valhalla's free, so it wins.
Valhalla is free. Yeah. Indie game of the year
In general,
in general.
B, what's a Space for the Unbound?
A Space for the Unbound is a lovely. Sorry, there's a fly. Is a lovely side-scrolling indie game by. Oh my god, I'm blanking on the name.
Does it take place in space?
Is it by? It doesn't. It takes place in the world.
Why is it called that?
It takes place in Indonesia, if I remember correctly.
That's cool.
It's by Toge Studios, or Toge Productions, and it's just a really lovely, heartfelt, sentimental game. that also is
This is not
funny.
a Metroidvania.
Not a Metroidvania.
Thank the Lord in heaven.
It's just fun. And funny. It's a Toge Productions published it, and it is by Mojiken. And
Isn't that the character from Tekken?
yes, I don't really want to get too much into it, but it takes place in the 90s. It's
Okay. Can I finally go to Chuck E. Cheese when I'm 5? Because that never happened to me in the 90s. Mom never let me go.
no, because it's an Indonesian show.
Damn it. You're right. Fuck. I'm so insensitive. I'm sorry.
It does sort of the I will say it sort of does the like indie meta thing, but it does it really early on, where you become aware that the whole thing is pretty meta, or not meta in like, hey, we're in a game, but that the narrative. You start getting hit introductions to like the big twist of the thing, like immediately. So
Does it become a plot element?
it does, and actually, it's related to why your character in the game has a sort of superpower, kind of similar to Oliver in Ni no Kuni 1.
I was going to say this premise reminds me of Assassin's Creed 1.
Oh,
I don't know if you remember when Assassin's Creed 1 came out, the reviews were like, they spoiled the twist right at the beginning of the game. You're inside a computer. But it's the reason why a character has superpowers and they can become an assassin.
hadn't thought of it that way.
Not to bring down a Space for the Unbound. I'm sure it's better.
It's really cool. It's just a really heartfelt game with amazing writing.
That sounds awesome and fun, and probably a game I will buy this year and try to play 2 hours of, because that's what I do now. I just buy too many fucking video games.
And that was a really bad description of Space for the Unbound.
Well, you're trying to preserve it for the audience.
Yeah.
You know what's a good game that you really can't spoil is The Last Spell.
Oh,
So I should say The Last Spell was in early access for a long time, way before I became aware of it, maybe like a year or two, and then like 1.0 release was like around October of this year. The developer's name, I just looked it up because I forgot.
yeah.
Ishtar Games,
Yeah.
based out of France.
It always looked really cool. I didn't realize it hadn't come out yet.
So it's based. The premise of the game is like there's a spell that fucked the world up. These pockets, these little villages that are trying to resist by
The
like
last spell?
it was. Well, you're trying to create the last spell
Oh.
that will banish all magic. But it's sort of like half tower defense, half like turn-based RPG,
Oh,
like
interesting.
Final Fantasy Tactics style.
My favorite tactics game.
Yeah, and it's cool. Like your characters are, it has like silly writing, and it's pretty lighthearted in like its presentation, even though it's kind of a dark premise, like oh the world's ending or whatever. It's a funny like light game, and you can play it with just the mouse. So part of the reason why I like playing this game and why I had so much fun with it this year is because you can play it while holding a baby.
Oh.
So like that's cool.
Interesting.
Great video, excellent video game.
Also, Space for the Unbound is also funny.
I like that games can just be like. It doesn't have to be like a gag game. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
like I don't know,
Last Spell also has some really great art.
Cell Damage. That's a funny game.
Yeah, Last Spell has some amazing art.
Yes, it's awesome. There's like two god characters in it that like are neither like sexy nor scary. They're somewhere in the middle, and I'm like, this is awesome. Especially coming off of Hades, where all the gods are just like
Yeah.
everything is just
We're lusty.
hot. Everything in that game is ready to go.
At all times.
Tommy's not here, but we should mention Dredge.
Yeah, that game.
Hey, she liked Dredge. It's got good fishing. I already talked about it.
Yeah.
It's good.
I still think it's technically the only game Tommy played last year
So
that came out last year. Yeah. That she physically played.
you're saying Death Stranding is not going to make the list? Was that this
Death
year?
Stranding is not going to make this. No, Death Stranding came out.
I know the game came
I
out
wanna
like
say in 2019.
well, the game came out in 2020, I believe.
Did it?
Or no, it came out in 2019, and then everybody played it in 2020 because it like predicted COVID.
Right. Yeah.
That's what it was. And then the Game of the Year edition came out like 2 years ago or something, or last year. But Tommy played that game this year. I wish Tommy was here to talk about it.
Yeah. Tommy is dealing with a thing that that is related to Death Stranding.
I'm
And is thus very tired.
gonna put a clip of Tommy right here from Metal Gear Solid as if she's part of this conversation, or I'll just piece together Toby from Inscription and Metal Gear Solid.
So Game of the Year for us.
We're already
here.
Fuck
We're already
it.
here because order is not a thing that we are here for.
Who cares? It's Alan Wake 2.
It's Alan Wake 2.
It has to be Alan Wake 2.
It has to be Alan Wake 2. For all the reasons that we will see later, it is Alan Wake 2.
So
It's just a really solid game.
we should mention the other games, 2023 games that we've played this year.
Oh,
We haven't played all the big ones, but like I played Zelda. B played Zelda a lot more than I did.
I did.
I didn't play Spider-Man, unfortunately.
Let's see. Games that came out.
Baldur's Gate 3, I did play Baldur's Gate 3 to completion. Put many, many hours into Baldur's Gate.
I put too many hours into that game.
Yeah.
And spoilers, I was not nearly as in love with it as everyone else.
Yeah. Yes.
Uh,
I forgot you played Forspoken this year. They can't see this.
No, they can't see this.
The one Forspoken fan. I did play a lot of Final Fantasy 16.
That's hilarious.
I think that's
Bloodborne PSX.
that game. Did that game come out this year officially?
It did.
And it's like
Pseudo
final
Regalia.
form.
Lies of P.
That's a great game. Pseudo Regalia. I don't know Lies of P.
Lies of P is the best, because I don't think it's in here. It might be, but I don't think it's in here. In this list is the best, easily the best Soulsborne game not made by From Software.
That's what everybody says.
And in fact, in not too few ways, it is does a better job than From Software.
Okay. Also, I should mention also
Hi-Fi Rush came out.
Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I did not play that.
Bomb Rush Cyberpunk.
That's a great game. We'll get to that later. So we played a few of the big games this year. Alan Wake was definitely like, even though Zelda is weird, I think Alan Wake is so fucking art house that it feels weirder than Zelda to me. Like just in its tone and what it's trying to do. I mean, Zelda is amazing, but we'll get to Zelda later because I have a lot of feelings about Zelda.
Dingo has a lot of feelings about Zelda.
Very mixed feelings about Zelda, I'm going to be really honest.
Yep.
But what was your favorite thing about Alan Wake 2?
My favorite thing about
And
Alan
why
Wake
is it
2,
Saga Anderson? Because that's my favorite thing.
I think. It just did something that like no other game. I think most just pieces of art or fiction do. It just did.
Yeah.
Where it was like it gave you enough answers to intuit your own questions.
And then gave you 5 bajillion more
Yeah.
questions.
But like I imagine you could go into that game with and just be like, I mean, I imagine there's tons of people that hate the game for
Sure.
the fact that
Don't listen to this show
for just like
if you're those people.
for like it's just wild. But there's enough. I feel like there's enough of a like solid. There's enough solid ground for you to understand to some degree why things are happening, but also not know why things are happening.
Yeah, I mean, there's still like, I don't think they quote like answered any questions from Alan Wake 1. Like Alan Wake 1 just happened and they're like, oh, that was crazy.
Yeah.
And here's what happens after. And you're like, wait.
Yeah.
The fuck?
It's sort of like we don't like at this point in the game, there's no point asking why. You have to keep moving forward
Right.
or you're going to get stuck.
I'll give you a perfect example of this. Bright Falls, completely inverse of Night Springs. Does that matter?
No.
But maybe it does.
Maybe it does.
What does it mean for Bright Falls? These are fucking real ass questions that matter. I don't know. But Alan Sleep 3 is my favorite game of this year.
Hey, it's not often or ever where there's a character that speaks or things that are said in another language.
Oh my god.
And I will literally go and put that text into a translator to see what the hell is being said.
And it's always some weird shit. I should mention that actually. The fact that this game is like very Finnish in many ways
Yeah.
is very like endearing to me. I've told you this before offline. because like my dad lived in Finland for a long time. I have a sister that lives in Finland, and I just always had this like soft spot for like Finnish culture and Finnish people. So just seeing that, like, I don't know, seeing like the Koskela brothers just talk,
Yeah.
going to the fucking sauna, and then Ati, of course, just doing his little
Yeah.
Finnishism is just, to me, it added this degree of warmth that obviously the developers could not have anticipated.
Yeah. Also, it's just also nice as somebody who doesn't have that experience, but as someone who definitely doesn't see a lot of, I guess, themselves in games, or sees a very like similar type of story told in environments. It's nice to see something totally different
Yeah.
as just a thing that's here.
Is
And
there a
that's amazing.
second Finnish game? It's
Not that I'm
Control.
aware. Yeah, Control. That's true. Yeah.
So congratulations, Alan Wake 2, Remedy Entertainment. You guys did it.
Yeah.
I know that you were more excited for the Inside Gaming no award technical. How do we work award into no technical difficulties? The name of our feature program.
The
Let's talk about visual art.
Workshop it. We'll workshop it.
Let's talk about visual art.
I loved the visual art in the game Season: A Letter to the Future.
Another game that I so desperately want to play. I will say I have something to add to this list, but Season looks like it's going to be calm and depressing.
It does, doesn't it? I haven't played like more than 3 seconds of it. But
Did you feel
amazing.
calm or depressed?
It's intense. It's interesting.
I know it's like an
I guess
apocalypse
it's intense
story.
because of sort of what I'm bringing to it. But yeah, it's really interesting.
I love the way it's drawn.
It just looks gorgeous.
It's kind of cel shady, right? But like not.
Yeah.
It's not Borderlands. you know.
Yeah, it's almost. I'm forgetting the word, so ignore me.
So I should really move Pizza Tower from visual effects to visual art. I didn't put this here because I like it. I put it here because looking at it makes me want to fucking vomit. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it has this like Microsoft Paint art style, and it's wacky, and it reminds me of like cartoons that I had a hard time watching as a kid that were like kind of weirdly animated, like Courage the Cowardly Dog. Some of those animations were so creepy that I
Mario
like
monsters.
I couldn't look at it, and I'm just so like I'm so happy.
Rocko's Modern Life.
Yeah, I'm so happy. Well, I liked Rocko's Modern Life. It didn't go too far, but Courage, the creepy characters always creep me out too much. I'm so happy that they made this game.
Ren and Stimpy.
They were just like, let's just fucking do this.
Yeah.
It's also like a
It's
cool.
like Toe Jam and Earl.
From what I understand, it's like a cool like Wario Land kind of game. You have a tackle and stuff, which is great. And I'll never play it because I can't look at it. But congratulations to Pizza Tower.
Also, it's on here. I also really love the art in a mobile game called it's a gacha
Honkai
game
Star Rail.
called Reverse 1999. That just has there's just like a. It is. This is like sort of a. I want to say, delicate. Like there's a weird sophistication to all of the art in that game. They've somehow made like what is effectively like anime girls seem like sophisticated in a
Nice.
really weird way.
Nice.
And this is really cool.
Is it fan service?
It's also really cool. Not really, no.
Damn it! I don't care.
This is really cool. Like they have a spindle in the game that is really cool. I don't know. This looks cool. It looks cool.
Hey, listen. There's a lot of good games. We should say this is the halfway point. A lot of good games that came out this year. We didn't play all of them.
We played all of them.
Well, we played the only one that matters. But hey, I'm glad we picked weird stuff. But
Yeah.
why is Forspoken on visual effects?
Because the visual effects in that game are here's just, isn't that cool?
Oh, that is kind of cool, actually. I'll put that up. I'll remember to put that up for the chat to watch. There's no chat. It's just us.
There's no check. The visual effects in Forspoken are amazing.
So describe them to me,
Um,
even though I've seen them.
describe them to you.
Because there's like the parkour.
You know what?
There's like the magic feet, right?
Oh my god. There it is. Okay. I will. Which section is? Oh my god.
They can't tell. They don't know.
Here. This is visual.
Oh.
This is visual effects. This is just one of the powers you have. There's just so much detail to it.
Yeah, I mean, it looked.
And
This
there's
game
so many-
showed
There's
so nicely.
so many
before it
freaking
came out.
particle effects doing all sorts of crazy things. The menus look amazing. All the different magic types look great. It honestly, while I played this and then in sort of conjunction, but technically, I mean, I finished it before Final Fantasy 16, and after playing Forspoken, like going to 16, I was like, 16 is a better game. But so wildly similar to Forspoken, why doesn't it have just the crazy looking magic that Forspoken did?
16 is pretty muted by comparison. Like there's like fireballs and like, oh, he's got the sword with the fire on it, but like there's not like, it's not lush. Like that's probably the best thing about Forspoken is like how it looks and how it makes how the magic makes your character look.
And
So
other characters using magic and just really cool.
just wish the game was
better. Yeah.
better.
Yes.
But hey, I think and you're the one that's played it, but I've been convinced it's probably better than than the critics made it out to be. The capital C, the evil press,
Yes, the evil press.
not the good press, which is us.
That said, I put Final Fantasy 16 in for art direction,
Final Fantasy 16. Okay,
which I know is
it has
controversial.
a consistent art direction,
It does.
but I think that game looks boring as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said. It's controversial. To be sure,
You trying to get clicks?
I actually read an article, basically somebody being like, "I'm brave for liking the art direction." It's very. They went with like dark fantasy and
Game of Thrones was cited
they
as an
stuck- and
inspiration,
they,
right?
And they stuck with it.
I mean, it absolutely
But also,
is that.
I also really love how both consistent and different the Fallen architecture is with the the art.
Well, because it has that
Just
like
the
ashy.
direction and themey.
It has that like ashy, almost futuristic, but then also ancient
Yeah.
look. Because it has all the lights and whatever, they all look creepy and shit. Yeah, okay, you know what? Yes.
And sure, I mean,
Yeah.
it is lots of grays and muted stuff, but it's also, I don't know. I felt like there was definitely a unified feel to everything,
Absolutely. I mean,
and it made sense for the depressing story they were telling.
absolutely unified. It is monochromatic, to use that word incorrectly. Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? It's not.
It is not Bomb Rush Cyberpunk.
It is not Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. Now, there's only one reason why Bomb Rush Cyberpunk is it. I put it here, and it's because of Jet Set Radio.
Yeah, because you wished it was Jet Set Radio.
That's it. That's all I have to say. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk on its own, I would say I've put maybe 3 or 4 hours into it so far. It is fucking Jet Set Radio.
Yeah.
It's great. It's solid. Everybody should play Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. They even picked like syllables that make it sound like Jet Set Radio.
Yep.
But then at the Game Awards, Sega released that sizzle reel,
Yeah,
and
be
it had
prepared.
fucking Beat from Jet Set Radio, and I was like, "Fucking, who cares?"
So be prepared. If that game does in fact come out this year, that will be winning art direction.
That will be winning Game of the Year. If they just made Jet Set Radio 1, which back in my day was called Jet Grind Radio, I didn't know it was called Jet Set. It was on the Dreamcast. The U.S. release was called Jet Grind Radio, and it wasn't.
That was the original one.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and Jet Grind Radio 2, I believe, was also
No,
the
it's
name.
called Jet. Was it? I only ever played it as Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future.
Jet Set Radio. Maybe it's Jet Set Radio Future, but the first one was definitely Jet Grind Radio, which almost is a better name. But
Jet Grind Radio is almost a better name.
almost a better name. But I'm so used to Jet Set Radio now.
Yeah.
And they if they re-release this game with better control, not re-release, but just make this game again with better controls, it will be the greatest video game in my mind
Yeah.
for me. With the same score, get everybody, but get the band back together, man, and make the same fucking. That shit is amazing. The soundtrack in this game is so
is
good.
amazing.
I listen to this shit when I'm cleaning the house.
They just. Well, getting a re-release is great. They just need to make a new one. I don't know what the story would be.
They should do like what they did with Pikmin 3, 4, where in Pikmin 4 you just at some point just replay Pikmin 1 in the Pikmin 4 engine.
Yeah,
Just do that shit.
just do that shit.
Bomber Cyberpunk, art direction.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Best supporting actor. I liked Karlach in Baldur's Gate 3 the most
I also liked Karlach.
because I don't know. I felt like from jump she was just interesting
Yeah.
and wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. She was just interesting and likable
And alluring.
and likable,
tough,
so,
cool.
Yeah, just like you instantly.
We're not afraid of strong women.
I feel like you instantly, like when you just first meet her in that, like when you're technically going to, if you're doing it with Will, going to kill her.
Yeah.
There's just she's just. I mean, she's cagey about specific things, but it's refreshing to see just a character that is just honest.
Yeah.
Especially for me in Baldur's Gate 3, where everyone was like, no, I won't tell you anything about myself whatsoever unless you talk to me 50 times. Karlach is like, well,
You know what? Okay, because Shadowheart is like that, and Gale is like that, and Asterion is definitely like that. No, yeah, I agree. Karlach is absolutely like to me was like right off the bat the character I just liked the most.
yeah.
Like, and then also tried to romance, and then because of fucking Gale.
Yeah.
Failed to romance because I thought I was gonna get the Karlach cutscene triggering when I was slept in the camp, but it was Gale because I was like the game that was the part of the game. I think they had patched it after I played.
They have patched it.
Where they just decided like, oh, if you talk to Gale, you must love him, obviously. So he's gonna go after you, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
please, it's not Gale, it's me. I just don't want this right now. I want Karlach. I also will say something, and I'm sorry to have to admit this on the air, but I have to clear the air.
Okay.
At the end of this game, when Karlach is like, "There's no way." The choices that I made basically ended it with it being like, "Oh, like we can't stop your infernal engine, Karlach, and you want to stay here. You don't want to go back to hell, so you're gonna die." And Karlach goes, "That's fine. I accept that, but please stay with me at the end." And I said, "Of course." And then at the end of that game, I turned into a mind flayer.
You turned into a mind flayer?
I did turn into a mind flayer, and I guess spoilers. And then fucking Orpheus was like, "You're a goddamn hero. You need to come with us and come with Lae'zel to go into outer space right now and stop the mind flayers. Are you with us?" And I said, "Fuck yes." And then I flew in the portal, and then Karlach was on the dock by herself, and she exploded.
Oh my god.
And I remembered. I legitimately forgot because there was so much time between that conversation and in the game. And then remembered, like, I promised her I would be there, and she just watched me just be like, "Peace," and then fucking disappear.
Wow.
And I still feel bad about this.
Wow.
So one day I'll have a second playthrough where I'll stay with Karlach. Or at least send her to hell with Will.
Well, I'll say in my playthrough, because I didn't get that cutscene, I was interrupted by Will.
It's worse than Gale.
It was.
He's such a dork.
It was weird. She insisted on like getting the becoming a mind flayer, and I was like,
Oh yeah, because she's like, "I'm gonna die anyway. Like,
yeah.
might as well."
And I was like, well, I can't get an ending that's better for her. So this is the ending where she gets to stay alive, at least, I guess.
When she turns into a mind flayer, is she like a Karlach mind flayer, or is she just a regular ass mind flayer?
She's a Karlach mind flayer.
That's cool. At least she retains some of her.
For the moment.
What happens to her after all the shit is over?
Does
she go to outer space with Orpheus?
No.
Like I
no,
did?
because I killed Orpheus, I think.
Wow. I played a Gith. I could not do that.
Well, it was
in good conscience.
Well, I don't know. So just to ramble.
Listen, this is why she's such a great supporting actor.
In my game,
because we felt this stuff.
In my game, I was liking Lae'zel, and then as soon as I got to Act 3, Lae'zel was the character that was kidnapped. And because I didn't know what my actions would do if I did any story mission, I literally saved Lae'zel like as the last thing I did before the final battle.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, she hasn't been present for any of the other things, and it was part of that Act 3 weirdness where they didn't expect things to happen certain ways, and so they didn't write dialogue that made sense.
Yeah.
And so Lae'zel's arguments were like, you haven't been here. I don't understand why this is an opinion you have.
And you're like, you haven't been here, Lae'zel. Why don't you turn
Yeah.
into a mind
It
flayer?
was like, I didn't have Shadowheart in my party, and people were acting like I
Why,
betrayed.
wait,
like I turned
why
it-
didn't you have Shadowheart in your
like
party,
I
B?
betrayed Shadowheart.
B, why didn't you have Shadowheart in your party?
Shadowheart's a fucking racist asshole.
That doesn't answer the question.
What?
Why isn't Shadowheart in your party?
Oh, because I killed her.
Oh my goodness!
This is the only. This is going to be crazy. The only NPC I have ever killed in a video game. That's like a party member or anything like that. Only time it's ever happened. I just hated Shadowheart.
Yeah. Do you know why? Because the actor was so fucking good. So that transitions to me saying
That
we liked Karlach, but really the actors did a fabulous job in that game. Notwithstanding your
Oh.
opinions about the game itself, one of the most well acted, like rich games I've ever played in my life, without a doubt. Congratulations. Does Mander? Is it Bayard? Is that how you pronounce it? Is that
I have
an
no
accent?
idea. I think it's Bayard.
It has an accent on the E. But another great actor. Have you heard of this? Have you heard of Alan Wake 2?
Yeah. This could technically go to two people.
It should.
And it should.
I can't remember the name of the other actor, the voice who plays Casper Darling. I'm sorry. I know you're listening right now and you're upset with me because you're my best friend. That's not true. That's a lie. Yeah, I mean, okay, even that choice, right? The choice to have
Matthew Peretta.
a face and then have a different voice. He was in Robin Hood Men in Tights. The choice to have a
Oh my god, he was.
yeah, that adds to the like just the otherworldliness of the game where it's like it's ADR'd and it's like it's never ADR is never perfect, right? It's always like a little
Yeah.
bit off. And normal in most things it would be like a cheap like if it was like a network TV show it would just be written off. But in this game it's like it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's just a weird
And
thing.
I love Ilka's like
So expressive.
so expressive. Does a great job as both Alan Wake without words, just acting
Yeah.
it. And
Being like stressed out about like I gotta keep writing this fucking story. 'Cause I keep
it
getting
does, it
stuck.
does a great job as what do you call it? As Tom Zane, who really you have no idea where he stands on anything.
Do you mean Tom the Diver or Tom the Poet?
I mean, Tom the filmmaker.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then Matthew Peretta, who somehow, like, I don't know which came first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whose performance was first, Matthew Peretta or Okavili?
Yeah. Yeah. And then to top it all off, he also was playing Matthew Perez was also playing Casper Darling,
Yeah,
who's more of a character in New Game Plus.
yeah. That's not to say that I'm forgetting her name. Who played Saga didn't do amazing.
Saga Anderson is the greatest video game character of all time. I would
I
die for
love
Saga
her.
Anderson. I would die for Saga Anderson
I just
and her
think in terms-
daughter.
I just think in terms of like,
Save them and
just think
David.
in terms of like
Those are- those are-
acting chops, like what those two did is it's like so incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and a weird ass
pull
of an
it off.
actor. Yeah. Also, I just want to say like Sam Lake as Alex Casey, and then the actor who passed away, forgetting his name, who voices Alex Casey and Max Payne.
Yeah,
Same deal, right? But just like I love Alex Casey as much as I love Saga Anderson in that game, and like those monologues when you're in Alan Wake world, and he's just like, I think we've talked about this line. I think the line is like I wanted to break the fourth wall, but I didn't know where to turn to look at the camera.
Yeah.
That's like the best fucking line ever. I think about that every week,
which leads into the narrative design.
which is Alan Wake. Believe it or not,
Sleepy Alvin too.
can we? Okay, I know that this isn't best story, but it's kind of best story.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Zelda Tears of the Kingdom right now
Okay.
because we agree Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is a good video game, and from a story perspective, I'm so like torn in half because on the one hand, the opening scene, right, where they find Ganondorf and Zelda falls in the hole and Link misses her, and then the how they kind of wrap that up at the end of the game, where you're falling through the sky and you catch Zelda. Like, I watched a clip of that yesterday. And I started fucking. I legitimately cried at the end of that ending. I don't know why. There was something so impactful about it that just hit me harder, certainly than any Zelda game. And
It's 30 years of of Zelda hitting you.
you save the princess. Usually that shit lasts like 5 seconds and it's over. We get all this stuff at the end with Zelda. But on the other hand, I fucking hate the story in Tears of the Kingdom because they just ignore Breath of the Wild and so much of the narrative elements of Breath of the Wild, and it's so frustrating to me. Like, why is the Sheikah technology just gone? Like, I get that.
They did explain that.
Where?
Well, not in the game, but like Eiji Aonuma separately explained it.
He's not in the fucking video game, so it doesn't count.
Oh, okay.
What I want, I mean, I know it's like its use was fulfilled and it just regressed, basically, right?
No, just it disappeared like Link was doing fast travel in that game.
What do you mean?
So in Breath of the Wild, when Link does fast travel, he like disappears, and
Right?
sort of like splits apart and then comes back.
Oh, so it just
The technology just
where'd it go?
it
Why did it go?
it was ancient technology. Who knows?
Exactly. And it was to me it was such, like the divine beasts, not even necessarily to have them appear, but just to have people talk about, like, man, that shit was wild. Because there is so much of Breath of the Wild that they do talk about, like the monster hunting and like trying to reclaim parts of like Hyrule Field, and like I wanted more of that stuff, and I wanted Zelda to talk more about, she was captured for 100 years, right? Like, what was that like? Like, I want to hear more about that stuff, and I was hoping like a DLC or something would address more of that shit, but they're not going to make DLC, so that sucks. And I hate the story because, like, why did they take Cass out of the story? Like, why is Cass gone?
Well, I'll say this. What's funny about this, and I think we've mentioned it in maybe a Ni no Kuni video, is that your problems with the story were my problems with Breath of the Wild.
Because it ignored other Zeldas?
No, because it ignored the reality of the world.
Oh, yeah.
And so you're upset that they didn't address Breath of the Wild in, say more, because it is like there's a couple of characters that like reference it. But
And
not-
also, Breath of the
not
Wild
like,
has those cuts, like the not the Dragon Tears, the ones in the where you find the Sheikah Slate stuff.
Yeah.
Which I guess is similar to how Tears handles it.
But Tears of the Kingdom does something, as far as narrative design, that Breath of the Wild didn't do, and what I didn't like that Breath of the Wild didn't do, which is, for the most part, all of the quests, to my memory, in Tears of the Kingdom, acknowledge the current state of the world.
Certainly the Zonai technology.
I mean, there's no technology, but
Yeah.
like even the, the big quest line, the what do you call it? The journal
Master
one, the
Sword?
reporter one
oh, yeah.
thing, like
You
are
meet
all,
Ze-
are, all,
find
all,
Zelda.
are all addressing? It's this long question. All addressing like appearances of Zelda and what people are assuming, are hearing or whatever from her.
Right.
Or like this person got gloom sickness. Only way to cure this, we think, is with something, is what is it?
Or like there's like the mom in
The sun-
Kakariko
the sun-
Village.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
the
sun-
Sundalines.
It's like no quests in Breath of the Wild. Not no. Almost every quest in Breath of the Wild did not acknowledge that shit was going on at Hyrule Castle.
Yeah.
Or
Or how about in Breath of the Wild, that other Akala Fortress or whatever?
yeah.
That didn't have any quests associated with it as far as I knew. And that could have been an opportunity for something cool.
And so to me,
I see what you're saying.
Breath of the Wild, sure it didn't. I mean, Tears of the Kingdom, sure it didn't address Breath of the Wild more, but it addressed the state of the world in a much broader sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
And so to me, all of the like, just the game itself, everything in that game itself, felt more fleshed out than Breath of the Wild.
And I think if it wasn't, not exactly a direct sequel, but basically a direct sequel, if it wasn't Majora's Mask-esque,
Which I will say, to me, just as a quick interruption, that I think another reason I wasn't as surprised about a lack of reference to Breath of the Wild is that the game takes place at least months after Breath of the Wild.
yeah.
And shit is crazy with monsters coming up, gloom and shit in ways that hadn't been before. And so I'm like, any references to Breath of the Wild would probably seem
That's
kind
true.
of, but also seem kind of out of place.
Well,
Like,
'cause the
why would they
gloom-
be talking about that? at
Because
this
the
point?
gloom was like
Oh no, it was years
new.
later.
It was years later, but everything was peaceful. And then Hyrule Castle, there was like gloom was seeping out, and they went underground, and then shit hit the
But I
fan.
just mean like, what's her face? I'm forgetting her name.
Zelda,
Not Zelda. Oh my god.
Naburu. She's not in that game.
In the inventor. The
Impa?
inventor.
Oh, the hot one.
Yeah, that one.
Fuck, what was her
Forgetting
name?
her name. But she's like an adult now, and she was like 5 years old in Breath of the Wild.
Well, she was also
So it's
100
been like
years old.
it's been like, let's say, a decade or so, about. And like they've been dealing with this shit for a decade.
Oh my god, not Shigeru Miyamoto.
Anyway, you were saying
You know what? But that's actually a good point, and I didn't think about that. What is her? Everybody loves her.
Yeah.
That is a good point, and I didn't think
Purah.
about it. That's Pura, yeah. And it is certainly internally consistent, but I think I so badly wanted everything to be explained all the time, which I guess is a lot to ask of a Zelda game, which almost never
Yeah.
does that.
yeah,
That I still feel this like simultaneous like fulfillment and emptiness.
yeah. I mean, you did have the side characters that are also the side characters for the main story that you don't need to do address the past.
Or like the construction people. They
I mean,
kind
like
of
the
talk
heroes
about
or
it.
whatever, the sages basically.
The sages talk about it. Yeah, that's true. They're like, but then the little kids like. Well, I guess not all of them because what's her name? The Gerudo
Yeah.
mayor. What is her title? She's a queen. I don't know what her title is.
This Queen.
Was there and talks about it. I think I also just liked. I liked the heroes in Breath of the Wild more than the sages in Tears of the Kingdom,
Yeah.
with the possible exception of Rivali. I like the one in Tears of the Kingdom better. I forgot his name, because he's a sweet boy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
With that, music.
Alan Wake 2, congratulations.
Alan Wake 2.
Hey, listen, Zelda always wins,
Zelda does always win.
but you know, B. I want you to show me the everlasting light.
But you know what? I will say, now that I've played it,
You're not
again,
gonna
didn't
do
play
it.
this
You're not gonna
before,
do it.
score, it would be really close for me between Tears of the Kingdom and Sea of Stars.
You know, I heard the one battle theme. Hey, that shit sounded pretty fucking catchy.
All the tracks in that game are amazing.
That's probably we'll revisit that one maybe at the end of this year.
Maybe.
But yeah, Zelda. I mean, Zelda always has like the final battle where it's like amazing when you're fighting Ganon and stuff. Even Breath of the Wild, it's the same kind of approach. I think where a lot of it is like texture score and like
But it was less textury this time.
Yeah, absolutely,
It was definitely
yeah.
more upfront.
there was more like themes. All the sages had themes. Like everything was like much more upfront. All the temples had themes, which is
Yeah.
like just like back in the day. I don't know that any Zelda game will ever capture the way I love Ocarina of Time and the music in
Yeah.
that game, because that game is just like unbeatable in my mind. But yeah, Tears of the Kingdom
Yeah.
is like such a good score,
It's the only game where music is a mechanic.
and also the only game where they just play parts of the score from other Zelda games backwards,
Yeah.
and go, "Hey, you fucker! This is the Hyrule Castle thing backwards. It's also its own piece of music.
Yep.
Go fuck yourself."
We have a lot more. Oh.
No, we don't.
Oh, okay.
Hey, congratulations to
games.
Zelda.
Congratulations to Zelda for that. Congratulations to Alan Wake 2 for everything else.
Literally, that We Sing chapter is what just such a great use of music in a video game. And I heard it was also pretty challenging to actually put together because of the way the band is like projected and stuff.
Yeah.
But they also just made it like a level,
Yeah.
like a
It's genius.
it's like a stripped down level from Alan Wake 1, like where you're just fighting.
It's just the whole game.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And like that goes to show that like in order to truly be like have that work for a game, you need to be deeply collaborative with a band. They need to like the way they work with Poets of the Fall, where it's like, hey, you're gonna write lyrics that talk about the shit that we wrote,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be awesome. Or pick songs that are so close to it that you're like, you might as well think it was written for the game.
And you need to be a mad genius to come up with the idea
Yeah.
and have enough like really smart and highly qualified people to help finesse it into something that is workable.
Oh yeah, I'm sure a lot of editing went to it, and also a tolerance for cheesiness.
Yeah.
Because man, the dance numbers are very silly and great, but silly
Yeah.
in this game that's also about like demons and murder and crazy shit.
The dancing reminds me about some of the moves from Michael Jackson's Thriller,
Sure, like the Zambies.
like the Zambies.
I'll say briefly about Hi-Fi Rush because I know you didn't play it.
I didn't play it.
I really love the game Sunset Overdrive. That game has an excellent pop punk style score.
Sounds like somebody really likes Jet Set Radio.
Fucking guilty as charged. Hi-Fi Rush. I don't know that I liked it as much as the world did. Mm-hmm. Not as effusive in my praise of it, but I love a good pop punk score, and it has a really good one. And it's also the people who made Evil Within, which is cool as fuck.
And it's, I mean, just from what I've seen, does the thing that I love, where you make, as I said about Ocarina of Time, it made music a mechanic.
Yeah, absolutely. Integral. And it's not like punishing, like the way that like, it's not Guitar Hero, right?
Yeah.
Where like you suck if you don't get the
Yeah.
rhythm. Or even like Crypt of the Necrodancer.
You can't beat Jordan on hard. What are
Yeah.
you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations to Hi-Fi Rush and Alan Wake 2.
Woohoo! And
We love you.
random categories.
Well, we have a lot of shit to talk about,
Just a little bit more.
but we love video games, so it's for the games.
Best RPG. Said Baldur's Gate 3. I think at this point I would probably say Sea of Stars, but again, I hadn't played it.
Is Zelda RPG? Question mark exclamation point. No, the answer is no.
The answer is Zelda 2.
Diablo
Arguably
4.
was.
Diablo 4 the answer for me is Baldur's Gate 3. That game is like I never put 100 hours into a game faster than Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh.
And I think I liked it more than you did.
Oh, yeah.
Diablo 4.
I put in 200 hours into
You know what I
Zelda.
fucking learned about Diablo 4?
What?
I fucking don't like Diablos past Diablo 2. When I was a small baby boy, I loved Diablo 2 with a burning passion. And then Diablo 3 came out, and I waited until the expansions. I played it on Switch, so late in the life cycle. With a friend, online, the whole way through.
Yep.
Hated it.
Yep.
Maybe it's me. Diablo 4 comes out. This is it. This is the one.
Yep.
I am not into these fucking like Skinner box fucking almost gotcha game. I can't do it. And like Diablo 4 sucks. Not because it's a bad game, but because I don't like what it stands for.
Which isn't what Baldur's Gate 3 stands for.
No, Baldur's Gate 3 is about love.
Is it?
Kinds of love that were heretofore uncontemplated by much of its audience.
Oh.
Did you sleep with the Emperor? Because I sure fucking did.
No.
You want to tell me that game's not about love after that scene? I kissed his tentacles.
Interesting.
That's what happens when
That is
Carlac rejects you.
Weird.
It's a passionate and loving kiss of the tentacles. And then there's like a line of dialogue
Were you a mind flayer during that
Nope.
scene?
I was a Gith. I was just a Gith boy. And there's a scene where my character was like, or a line of dialogue where like, I don't know how to kiss this thing, basically. But then I passed the check and I figured it out.
That's hilarious.
Because I'm about love.
Yeah, I get why people love Baldur's Gate 3. It's just not my thing.
Why not?
Well,
But it has Karlach.
I've never been a huge fan, or like an instantly huge fan of Western RPGs or Western style RPGs. So just like CRPGs in general. And Bethesda shit. And I'm also not the biggest fan of D&D. And so the people are like, oh my god, it's just like D&D is like, that's not a thing I care for.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that significantly turn you off to the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was the best RPG I played. I felt like I played last year. It was also an amazing struggle for me to get through it. Act 1 I felt was really slow, until it wasn't, and I was like, oh my god, this is really good.
We agree. Act 1 is probably the best.
And then I got into Act 2, and I was like, oh my god, so this is good. Like, it's eventually gonna do like the really cool stuff that Act 1 did, and it's gonna like open up, and there's gonna be crazy tons of more stuff to do. And then it didn't. It was like one very like clear path.
Act 2 was so straightforward, relatively speaking.
Yeah, Act 2 was very straightforward. And then
And not sprawling the way 3 is.
And then I got to Act 3, and it was a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
So many broken things, just from a game design perspective, and like just things that happened. Like, weird if you are in a building and you go to your camp and return to a building, all of your party members will be on different floors of that building. Why?
Because it's fun. It's janky. Oh, I love janky.
I think most people that love Baldur's Gate 3 haven't gotten to Act 3.
I agree that, like, because I played it when it came out too. Like, Act 3 absolutely needed tightening up. Like, Act 1 was the game for like almost the entirety of early access. Maybe the entirety of early access, because I didn't play at all points. So it's clear that they put a lot of work into like refining it and laying it out. And then 3 was like just big. It just big old fucking plate of food in front of you, and you're like, what do I do now?
I felt like Baldur's Gate 3, for all the things people loved about it being D&D, there were things about it that I like about D&D more, or just table like in-person TTRPGs more, which is the things which again you can't do in a game, but the places where a DM would acknowledge something in a different way, which is again too much to ask, but also it has the same D&D like power creep thing with mages where at some point you're going to get spells that are going to absolutely wreck everything.
Yep. Or just use magic missile.
Or yeah, well for me what I ended up doing was I just put a bunch of oh my god, AoE, what was it, the fire pillar spells,
Like the level 6 one?
Yeah. And you just like put those on the like in an angle on the ground, and like nothing can get close to you. Like, oh, now there's no reason to fight.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I agree. Magic is incredibly powerful in that game. It does do like Divinity. I'm sure at higher difficulties, because I played on like the normal difficulty.
Well, I've heard Divinity is
Kick your
better.
ass. I like Divinity Original Sin 2. That game is really good. I never played the first one, but the second one is like amazing. It's like, if you like Baldur's Gate 3, you should definitely play that game.
And I will say, for me, I don't really care for this type of game.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if you don't
like-
like D&D, or if you're not into D&D,
Like I
gonna
enjoyed
preclude a
like I
lot.
also played this year Shadowrun Returns and Shadowrun Hong Kong, and
oh yeah,
they were. I mean, I enjoyed them, but I think I enjoyed them a little more just because they were shorter. I didn't have to deal with
oh yeah.
the stuff I didn't like for as long as I did in Baldur's Gate 3.
Well, Returns is really simplistic, but it's. I mean, also, I think you and I both like Cyberpunk more. Like, not the game Cyberpunk, but the aesthetic.
So yeah, sorry for shitting on Baldur's Gate 3.
Hey,
The
listen,
direction
fuck Baldur's
of it.
Gate. Yo, fuck Baldur's Gate 3.
It is very solid and does very successfully what it is intending to do. It's just not my thing.
I briefly want to bring up a couple of things since we're on RPGs.
Yeah.
Starfield. I think Starfield sucks more than my wildest dreams ever sucked.
Oh,
That game, I just like, it just feels so like not lovingly crafted.
didn't you hear? In 2024, it's going to be a game.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. Octopath Traveler 2 came out. I purchased that game on release.
I've heard it's amazing.
Haven't cracked it out of the plastic yet.
I've heard that game is amazing.
Octopath Traveler 1 has the best battle music in any JRPG I've ever played.
Wow. Better than Final Fantasy 9?
Yes. Oh my goodness. And the only other one I want to bring up briefly, it doesn't really matter, but just so folks know who watch this video,
Yep.
the Mega Man Battle Network games came out this year on Steam and all the other platforms. And I love those games as a small baby boy.
So we have to bring this up now that we're here. Do re-releases of old games count as new games?
No. But they've never been released together.
Oh.
with concept art.
This is going to relate to something that happens
So
later.
it's new. Congratulations to Baldur's Gate 3
3.
for being discussed.
Yep.
Hey, Liza P.
That game is amazing. it is in many ways harder than the Souls games.
That's what I've heard. I heard they made it easier in a patch.
But at the same time, it's just a joy. Like the art is cool. It is for those of us who loved Bloodborne more than Dark Souls. It is definitely like, oh yes, this is what I've been wanting since Bloodborne,
Just Bloodborne 2.
and they do it. I
That's
really don't know how else to describe it.
that probably carries the game for me more than anything else because like even the oft teased but never announced Bloodborne PC release, people are dying for. Like literally anything that's like Bloodborne-esque that doesn't suck, people are like, fuck yes, give it to me. Bloodborne PSX, right?
Yeah.
People love that shit. Normally those kinds of games don't get the kind of mainstream attention that Bloodborne
Yeah.
PSX got. But because it was this like lovingly crafted like Bloodborne thing, whether literally or referentially in the case of Lies of P.
And also weirdly how lies and truth do genuinely affect the game.
Yeah, I've heard it changes the endings completely.
It does. It changes depending on how you do things. It changes the form / the final boss in
Jesus
general.
Christ. Does your nose get bigger?
No comment.
Fuck.
Though I will say, the biggest issue the game has, I don't know if it's a translation thing. I'm gonna hope it's a translation thing. Is that besides just general leveling, the big thing that you level to get stronger is your P organ.
Fuck yeah. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Look,
Nothing.
we can both agree.
They should just call it a bladder.
Like Lies of P is like a silly.
Oh, it's a great.
I was so endeared to this game just because of the Lies of P. They couldn't write Pinocchio.
Yeah.
The fuck? They call him P? It's so
Yeah.
silly.
So what is Warhammer 40K Bolt Gun?
Oh, okay. I'll say this about Warhammer. I'll keep it brief because I know we don't have a lot of Warhammer fans around these parts. It's like what the youngins call a boomer shooter. It's a shooter styled like Doom or Wolfenstein, the first releases. Obviously, much more advanced, doing much things that those games never could, like graphically or whatever.
More advanced.
But it's it's like just a shooter, just like a balls to the wall. You play as a Space Marine, you shoot demons. What I like about it is that it has a God mode. You can just turn on God mode and just like shoot stuff and just be a Space Marine. And it's cool. And everybody should play it. Congratulations to Warhammer 40K.
Congratulations,
Bolt Gun.
Warhammer 40K Bolt Gun, for tying with Lies of P.
2 equal games in every respect.
Yep. Best action adventure game. I think it's the only action adventure game.
I think it's the only real
that came out-
adventure.
that came out. The only adventure game, that I think I played last
The
year.
only thing I would call an adventure, not in the sense of point and click adventure. I know what those are.
I didn't finish One Piece Odyssey, so I can't. I
Well,
only played the demo, so sorry for the people that got family.
wow.
I played the demo for that.
They were
I'm
waiting
skipping
for your One
ahead.
Piece Odyssey review.
I played the demo for One Piece Odyssey, and I did not play Super
That's-
Mario Wonder. That's the reason that's there.
That is so. I'm so disappointed you didn't finish One Piece Odyssey.
It was the demo.
I played a Warhammer game. I stayed on brand.
I didn't have the money
this
to play
channel.
One Piece Odyssey. I'm sorry.
Or you just didn't want to throw any money at One Piece Odyssey.
I genuinely wanted to.
Anyway, Zelda. Hey,
Zelda.
you go everywhere.
You go everywhere.
You fly,
you do
hover.
everything.
You go underground. The depths. The depths. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, sure. Let's call it.
I don't
guess
remember.
that's- The under the castle.
Yeah. Hey, that's great. I love being there. It's the most fun shit ever in that game.
My world was rocked. I tell you, when I'm sure everyone was, when they realized how big the depths was.
Yeah.
And then when you realize that every shrine on the surface is connected to a tree in the depths.
Yeah.
Like,
That's how I found, because you
Wild.
told me that, and then I just fucking marked them in the depths and then just found them. What an adventure. Congratulations to Zelda
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom.
best horror game.
Hey, I know we're going to talk about this relatively unknown game, Alan Wake 2, but I just want to say
Yeah.
I've tickled the Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yeah.
It's really good.
But again, is a remake or a remaster a brand new game?
I'm telling you, they changed shit in this game.
I'm aware, but is it a whole new game?
Yes. I will make that exception for Resident Evil 4.
Interesting.
It's different than Dead Space because Dead Space is just...
Okay.
Actually, I take it back. It's closer to Dead Space. Dead Space is different than other ones because it's not just a graphical upgrade. They add things, they change things. If you've played the original game, you're not fully prepared for this game in the sense that you have muscle memory that can help you through
But
it.
it still has the same title.
Yeah. Well, actually, it doesn't because it says Resident Evil 4 Remake, so it's totally different.
Does it say remake on it?
I believe it does. I don't have a box. I just have it on Steam, so
Oh.
because I live in the future.
Well,
But Alan Wake
come
2
back
is
next
great.
year for Resident Evil 5 to win Best Horror Game.
Fuck yeah. Alan Wake 2 is the right kind of horror game for me because it's not that scary, except when you're fighting the wolves.
Yes, those fucking wolves.
Fuck those wolves.
Family game, One Piece Odyssey.
Hey,
I enjoy. Actually, really, it's genuinely.
can we talk briefly?
It's general. It's again. I went to the demo. I watched a bunch of other stuff. It is genuinely fun to play and does some fun things with that RPGs don't normally do.
Is it a Muso?
No.
I don't give a fuck. Yeah. When we say family game,
Yeah.
what does that mean to you?
It means a game that I would say is. What do we call it?
Because
I would say is like a game for like 10 and under.
Okay.
That a
What if you
parent-
watched Alien 2 when you were
that a-
10 and under?
that a
Aliens.
parent would be okay with sitting and either playing with their kid next to them or having their kid play and they are watching them do it.
So like suitable multiplayer for the less controller inclined / content.
Yeah, I'd say either I mean, it doesn't. I would say it have to be multiplayer, but just like a fun game for the family to like enjoy together.
Okay.
What would you call a family?
Well, because to me, like I played a lot of really violent, vicious games with my family,
game? Yeah.
but my answer is Banjo Tooie. That's the greatest family game of all time. Because it has multiplayer and
Well, like
also
every
it has
Mario-
fart jokes.
Like every Mario game is a family game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except apparently Bowser's Fury can get a little.
Can it?
Yeah. As you know what? Put that on the gotta play that shit next year list.
Well, and with that, congratulations to that game that I played.
Hey, One Piece, finally. If there was going to be a YouTube
It was
channel that gives it
honestly-
to fucking One Piece, it's this one.
Honestly, the best One Piece game ever made.
Wow.
Not that that's
Wow.
not that that's a high bar to cross.
Better than. No, that's Naruto. Ultimate Ninja Storm is Naruto. Never mind.
Best strategy game.
Hey,
I don't play strategy games.
there were a lot of great strategy games that came out this year.
Yeah.
And I didn't put Advance Wars here because I think it's the best. I just put it here because I want to talk about it.
Okay.
Advance Wars 1 and 2 on the Game Boy Advance. Let
Yeah.
me take you back to the, like, literally post 9/11 because I believe Advance Wars 1 came out September 10th of 2001.
Really?
So I played it
Man, that was timely.
right in the wake of 9/11.
Talking about communism in that game.
Yeah. Well, that also led to the delay of this game, but anyway, we'll go into that maybe later, maybe not at all. Advance Wars 1 and 2, if all video games were destroyed except for 2 video games, I would
Did
pick.
come out September 10th.
Yeah. I don't know why I remember that. I went to Target. I got it at Target right here in the valley.
Wow. The San Gabriel Valley.
Yes. Those games were so perfect and so full of content and so replayable. So many, like you could play as different commanding officers and there's like tons of maps. The campaign had like a hard mode that like changed a lot of the map. It was such a complete and full game. All you had to do really is just put 2 fucking ROMs on a Switch cartridge, make it look okay on a TV, and call it a day. But they introduced this graphic style that is just monstrous. It's just so hard to look at. And I know some people like it.
I loved it. I thought it was enjoyable.
I-
It was so endearing.
I really like the way they animate the vehicles and stuff on the map portion. It just looks cheap. I think that the COs are animated like a mobile game. And I think that they like You know, sometimes someone asks me about like to assess risk as part of my job, and sometimes I say,
The board game, by the way.
sometimes I say, there's risk if you do anything, and there's no risk if you do nothing, and you should do nothing. And they feel compelled to do something because they also have a job they need to do. But the real answer is just fucking sit on your ass and don't do anything and don't fuck anything up for anyone.
Yeah.
That's what should have happened with Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. They should have just done nothing, and it would have been one of the greatest games of all time. Also, unrelated, but Advance Wars players will know, for some reason in Advance Wars 1 and 2, there used to be this weird exploit in Advance Wars 1 where if you had an armored personnel carrier, the AI would always shoot it. So you could manipulate the game by like just putting armored personnel carriers everywhere and like winning by having your actual important units not get shot. They imported that into both Advance Wars 1 and 2,
Yeah.
and it just is like stupid. Like why would and sometimes the AI is dumb. Like the AI won't use their powers
Yeah.
for a whole round. Why? That wasn't in the original game. If you did nothing, it would have been fine. Congratulations to Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp.
Wow. So, in case anyone was wondering, most people had the exact opposite opinion of Advance Wars.
They like the graphics
Yeah.
of this game.
Of this game,
Why?
because they're
Do they also like Pizza Tower?
just enjoyable. It reminds them probably of the same things that Super Mario RPG. Yeah, the Super Mario RPG does.
Well, that remake looks good. So this game looks bad. I'm sorry, but this game is too important for me to not say that. Congratulations. Best music game.
Let's use a game.
What is this?
This is a really just enjoyable. It's on itch. It is surprisingly deep.
What is the premise?
It's sort of like your standard. It has the look of your standard like rhythm game. But it takes the tact of like, but what if instead of just standard rhythm game things, you are like attacking / dodging things, and you have just like a health bar.
Sounds like Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, but it is like on a plane.
Is it like there's like a color come down, you press the button at the right time?
Sort of, but it's more about dodging things and like hitting. If you can't dodge, and like try to hit the note. And the music is all really good.
What kind of music? What kind of music?
It's more
Like electronic music?
it's like electronic music.
That's cool. Hey, not a lot of music games come out anymore, so I'm glad you found one.
It is all made, and this is all made by one person.
That's
It is surprisingly good for one person, and it's just really enjoyable. It also gets freakishly hard.
just like any good music / rhythm game.
Yeah, just like
your best DDR levels.
yeah, just like those.
I'm gonna give my award to DDR.
Oh, yes, that game definitely came out this year.
Dance Dance Revolution. There's some kind of like super mix.
All right, and here we are, the last ones. Congratulations, Deadbeats Encore. Miscellaneous stuff. What's our favorite media adaptation?
We
of the year?
should bring up The Last of Us.
Yes, we should.
It won like 8 Golden Globes yesterday.
Did it? I was
So
out, so I didn't know.
I know some people don't care about award shows. I kind of do. I'll admit it, which is why
You
we're
love
doing
award
one right
shows.
now. Like, it's cool that The Last of Us is getting recognized in the mainstream. Like, The
Yeah.
Last of Us is a good fucking story. Nick Offerman won for Best Supporting Actor. He played Bill.
Yeah, that show was generally solid. Episode 3 made the show.
That's all Alexandra talks about. She's like, that show, if it was just that fucking episode and that was the whole show, it would be the greatest show on television.
Yeah. That episode was so good. Especially for it being pretty much wholly original content.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like, they changed so much from the game to make it actually
Yeah, they changed the relationship
Interesting.
between those two characters.
by a lot.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, instead of them having a falling out, they didn't.
Yeah. The opposite, in fact.
Yeah.
A very romantic end.
Yeah.
Also, like, the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Was amazing.
We watched that movie together. Hey, that was a fun fucking movie.
I also saw it in theaters. This is really good.
I really like that scene where Princess Peach has a halberd when she's gonna go fight Bowser.
Yeah.
It made me want a Princess Peach Halberd video game.
Here we go. We're gonna get our
No, we're getting showed.
Super Mario Muso game.
Stop it! Don't even don't even say it.
Said.
Don't even joke about that. I liked. People were really scared of the Chris Pratt voice.
Yeah,
It was great. It was yeah. Hey, listen, that movie apparently made like a gajillion million billion dollars.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll add some shit to Super Mario World and Universal, and then it'll be a theme park you can actually walk in without suffocating to death,
Yes. Hopefully, hopefully they give it at least 2 extra feet.
and maybe get rid of that Mario Kart ride. That's a
Yeah, that
worst
was that. Okay, that ride is very weird.
worst video game adaptation. The Super Mario Brothers Mario
Yeah.
Kart ride but best adaptation, the fucking line to get on that ride. Way better than the ride.
Oh yes, the going through Yoshi's story and
The
Bowser's
creepy
Workshop
castle. Yeah.
and- yeah.
Fuck yeah.
This is a media adaptation. Super Mario World.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good
You didn't.
adaptation.
Yeah, you didn't say that opened up
I hope
right before your birthday,
it did.
which
We
is
went
what
for
we
my
did on your birthday. That was fun. What else was adapted? We watched. I did not this year, but man, those Sonic movies.
Oh, the Castlevania Nocturne.
I didn't see that, but I love Richter Belmont. He's my boy.
I felt like that adaptation or that season of the series was kind of boring for the first 4 episodes, or the first half of it, and then the second half it suddenly became really good.
How could you? You hunt vampires. Just
Not
put
for
the
first-
vampires.
Not for the first 4 episodes.
Why?
Because they needed to establish
I'm Richter
weird-
Belmont, bitch. Done.
They
Established.
needed to establish weird things.
Oh, he loves Jello. I don't know if Jello was invented when he was alive.
It's just gelatin. We have it in our bones.
Yeah, but but you don't eat. You don't like cut your gut open. Here you go, folks. Here's
No,
put
'cause
some
it's in
lime
your-
on
because
it.
because it's bone marrow.
But it's not the
Not
same.
marrow, it's bones.
But it's not powdered and shitty. Which is what you.
Some people just don't understand.
That's what you want out of a Jello. You want it to suck to make you feel bad. Congratulations to The Last of Us and Mario Bros. Movie and Super Mario Bros. World Land
Yeah.
at Universal.
Yeah. Best essayist,
This is video essayist.
video essayist. I said Jacob Geller because he puts out a lot of stuff that's very interesting.
On this channel, we love Jacob Geller. Hey, if you're listening, Jacob Geller,
Let's do a collab.
we like you a lot. Yeah,
Collab.
please just, if you're failing, if your channel's dying,
Yeah, well, we can give you some numbers.
we'll pick up the fucking pieces. It'll be like an interview, like an old ass comedian. Oh man, I loved your stuff, but now you have like problems, so
Yeah.
no one likes you anymore.
Yeah, all this stuff is really thoughtful and really just really cool.
Was it this year?
I always look forward to his game of the year because it's always or his game of the year list because it's very different from everyone else's.
Oh yeah. Was it this year that he did a video about fear of being underwater, and he talked about giant squids? And
Was that this year?
I don't know if it was this year. I think about that video all the time. That's such a great just piece of art.
Yeah.
God, what else did he put out this year?
This year, I think this year was I could be wrong. His he did How Can We Bear to Throw Things Away, which was kind of interesting related to
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna put.
game preservation.
Not gonna watch that. Oh, that was where he talked about like the fucking quintillion billion amounts of data.
Yeah. Art in the pre-apocalypse. Games
Oh,
that
yeah.
aren't games.
Oh, I think he talked about Umurangi generation in that video. Art in the pre-apocalypse.
Execution. That was a really interesting video.
You know what I'll say about Jacob Geller? I love the
Orbital
decade.
laser video was great.
Yeah. I see now that I watch his content pretty consistently, which has been for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. There's I get recommended like other videos, and there's so many people who try to crib his delivery and his like title cards and all that stuff, and I get confused. I literally click on them and be like, "Who's this fucking? This ain't Jacob Geller, some fucking loser," which I guess is what we're trying to do. But anyway, that's how good he is.
Yeah, he's great.
He's emulated. Hey, I put a YouTuber. I have two YouTubers that I discovered that I want to talk about. First one is this guy. I finished a video game. Is a British gentleman. I don't know what their real name is or anything.
My name is finished.
Actually, there's three I want to bring up because there's also the one everybody loves, but we'll get to that later.
The one everybody.
Oh yeah, the internet will know it. I'm gonna put it as a tag, and we'll get 1 billion views because I put it as a tag. Watch.
Iron Mouse.
No, no, Jeff Keighley's never heard of this guy. I guarantee it. But yeah, I finished the video game. Is he just like does like 3 to 6 hour video reviews of like entire series. What I like in a YouTuber and the kind of content I want to continue to put out for this channel is like playing games that like no one's heard of or that are really hard to play.
Like Alan Wake 2.
Exactly.
On
Impossible.
Epic Games Store.
You want it on Steam? Yeah, exactly. You want it? Fuck you. You're done. We'll bring you that content soon, probably. But like, I finished a video game. Particularly, there's 2 videos that he did about Parasite Eve and Dino Crisis, and just like long reviews about all the Dino Crisis and all the Parasite Eve games. 2 franchises that I've never played, that I've always like kind of admired from a distance and been curious about. And I learned everything I need to know about Parasite Eve and Dino Crisis, respectively, from his videos.
Cool.
And I just appreciate like a nice, thorough review. That most of the time, these sort of retro reviews are complimentary. They're like, actually, Dino Crisis 3 like is bad, but it has some cool stuff in it that you might like whatever. So I like those opportunities, giving games those opportunities to like shine again. So I finished a video game. The other one I want to bring up is Mandalore Gaming, who does similar kind of like old school reviews of like weird fucking PC games. And I like some of the games that he plays are just like shit like I've never heard of. Or he'll go on a tangent and he'll be like, I'm going to play all the Thief games, or I'm going to play like Pathologic is a franchise that I learned about, which, do you know anything about Pathologic?
No.
Hey, just wait till 2024 kicks in.
Okay.
That game's fucked up. But I want to just compliment him for all the stuff that he does. And then the last one is H Bomber Guy, because H Bomber Guy at the end of the last year,
It's pretty consistent. Not consistent, but
he put out a video this year about plagiarism
yeah.
that has destroyed several YouTubers.
Blew up the internet.
Everyone knows
Gaming
this. I just want to say, like, fuck, man. I can't
And
believe.
just authors.
Yeah. And just, yeah, like corners of the world were affected by this video.
Yep.
And that's cool. That's cool. He's a cool guy. He's cool YouTube.
I've been watching, totally not related. I've been watching recently a lot of videos by Nakey Jakey.
Oh, I love Nakey Jakey. He
He
always uses fucking, what's that horse movie? Horse Sense? He always uses Horse Sense in the background. Or like Smart House. And I'm like, I know what this is.
Yeah. Yeah. I like, something I like about, like, how did I put this? I like a good video essayist who, if they say something you disagree with, says it in a way that doesn't sound like they are trying to be objective about it.
Yeah. It's video games. It's art.
Yeah.
The only thing objective is that it's what it's made out of.
Yeah. Or that if you came to them and said, I disagree with you, they wouldn't like be like, no, well, you didn't understand the deep.
Are you saying you don't like the anger? I'm angry. Oh, I'm a irritated gamer.
Yeah.
I hate that shit. We strive not to do that. Oh no.
We're definitely that though.
Well, only in one narrow context, which is if you're the former president of a country that was destroyed because of you in the video game Ni no Kuni 2, then we fucking hate you.
If you played or disliked Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp.
That's true. You know who loved Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot
And
Camp? Is fucking
Warhammer
Roland.
Reforged.
Stop it.
We say Warcraft Reforged.
Stop it. Why would you bring that up? Hey,
I'm just creating a pattern.
What about the favorite game we play? These last 2 categories are like, or not last 2, but these next 2.
Games that we played.
I thought we had the most fun playing Inscription, but also
I loved Inscription.
Inscription was fun because it was a trip.
Yeah. And I wish I wasn't trying to narrate while playing or have conversation while playing because just rewatching the videos, I'm like, I'm a fucking idiot.
Well, meanwhile, Tommy and I are in the background too, going like, "You put the okay, so that makes it like those puzzles where in the overworld or whatever."
Oh, that I just powered through.
Yeah, like that game is definitely like it can be a real puzzle game sometimes, not just like a fucking fun card game or whatever. But I actually think the thing I'm most proud of that we put out last year was actually the Metal Gear Solid playthrough.
Yeah.
Because we got to do some fun stuff with like timing and like messing around with some of the content, partly because I got confused and then ran with it because we re-recorded the same thing several times. But that's probably my favorite thing that we did this year. Like it's like it was Tunic last year because we started Tunic in 2022. I think this year it's MGS
Yeah.
Twin Snakes. And Super Kiwi 64. What a
Super
good
Kiwi 64.
because we
that
beat
was
that
amazing.
game.
We did. I honestly, Super Kiwi 64 was probably just one of the best games that came out last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Tight,
In
clean,
general,
cute.
one of the best retro platformers. It could stand up. I mean, if it was longer, it could stand up there with the best of them.
If that game was 10 hours with weird shit in it, like we would turn into a boat. That's better than Glover, tell you
That
that.
game came out in the 2000s. Nobody would have been playing Spyro.
Yo, who needs Spyro when you have a fucking cute ass
Kiwi.
Kiwi
Yeah.
with some creepy skull people?
Yeah, yeah, of course. all day, every day.
Nintendo would never let that happen.
Yeah, Nintendo definitely didn't make Majora's Mask.
Nope.
Nope.
That was Grezzo.
So, Daniel, what was your favorite game you played this year?
Do I have to say favorite?
Last year?
Yes, because
Yes,
this
that's-
is
What was your personal game of the year?
okay.
Regardless of when it came out.
This is my realist answer I can give you.
Yeah.
It's the Bureau XCOM Declassified. Do you know why?
No.
I'll give a brief history of the Bureau XCOM Declassified. So this game was originally a game called The Bureau.
Is this the like non-top down version?
Yes. So XCOM Enemy Unknown comes out.
Okay.
And it's a big hit. Everybody loves it. So 2K is like, we're going to make this a fucking franchise. And they were going to release a first-person shooter in the BioShock style called The Bureau. That studio, it was one of the, like, I don't know, like, I think it was an Irrational Games spin-off studio or something, like one of these ones that got closed. Basically led to the Bureau being kind of thrown in like development hell for a while, and it went from being a creepy like BioShock-esque first-person shooter to like a third-person shooter that has like squad elements. So my favorite genre, Freedom Fighters fans will know, like it has so many elements that I like in video games. Like it's like 1960s.
Yeah.
It's aliens. You play as like a CIA agent who's like a man of few words and I'm just a guy. I'm gonna do stuff. There's scientists. There's like it has so much going for it. There's like a mission that takes place in like a town in the 60s. That's like any town America, like that kind of thing. So much of the vibe I like, and that game sucks so much, and I'm so disappointed because I tried to love it. I finished it. I mean, I tried to love it every step of the way.
Yeah.
I tried to give it the benefit of the doubt. I don't expect it to have a great story, but it's just one of these like Xbox 360 era games that came out on like the Unreal Engine, and it has those parts where you're talking on your radio and you're walking slowly, and then you're not walking slowly, and then the shooting is like really basic, and like the squad. I mean, it tries to do the XCOM, like you have a squad, you can name them, they just permadeath, but you don't give a fuck about them. It's not like Enemy Unknown or XCOM 2 where it's like detailed and you care about your squad or whatever. There's something about it that's so like just whatever, and I was so deeply disappointed with that game. And I know it went through a lot, and I know I feel for the devs. I get it, but I just wish they treated it like the company, like 2K treated that
Yeah.
property better.
And so that was your favorite game you played last year?
That was the most important game I played last year.
Oh, okay. This is okay. Oh, sorry.
It could be favorite.
You know what?
It could be whatever you want it to be. Hey, Alan Wake 2.
Most important game played this year. 2023.
This year. Why is it Forspoken?
I don't know.
Is it Death Stranding?
I genuinely don't know. As everyone can see, I have, besides strategy games, which I didn't really play any. I guess you could call Inscription a strategy game. Didn't come out last year.
Sure.
This is the only thing that I didn't put an answer to because I genuinely don't know. A part of me wants to be really corny and say Alan Wake 2.
Alan Wake 2. Hey, that's valid. That game is, I don't know if you heard of it. It's really good.
It is really good. But I also played 138 games.
Can I bring up a second game while you're thinking?
Say the games that I played more than once last year. So were Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man Miles Morales.
That's a great video game.
I replayed a bunch. I can't remember else what I played. I think if you asked me at different months, I would give you a different game. Is genuinely where it is. I think if you'd asked me after I played Opus Echo of Starsong, it would probably have been that one. If you asked me after I played Space for the Unbound, it probably would have been that one. If you asked me when Tears of the Kingdom came out, it would have been that one. But the game that I played most recently that I just loved was Alan Wake 2. And so it's probably that one.
Hey, that game is really good.
That game is really good. Also, the other games I mentioned are also really good. It's definitely Forspoken.
Thanks, everyone. One last franchise I will bring up too. I'll only say one word on it because I want you to play it. I finished the Banner Saga trilogy. I don't know if you've heard of the Banner Saga. Stoic Games. Rest in peace. Another trilogy that I was so endeared to and so incredibly disappointed with. But I think it's worth playing. I think that game is sad in a way that I want more games to be sad.
Yeah.
And I felt a lot playing through those games. It gives you the Mass Effect trilogy promise of your choices matter in a really, I think, a better way. And yeah, there's no good ending to that game. It's just,
Interesting.
it's challenging. The material is challenging. I'll say that. But not as challenging as Forspoken.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Well, I guess I'll add to that.
Forspoken?
There were a number of games that I played last year that were, like very emotionally challenging.
The Freedom Fighters.
That were really short but great. For what they were like, how we know we're alive, which I believe is that's the full title. Is a free indie game that is just very intense.
You played a lot of like itch. You've done your part for the indie community much more than I have this year.
Yes, I have.
Like all the little shorties that you brought to the table were like itch games that were like all fun and like worth playing and like worth surfacing. And I'm glad to the 18 people that watch those videos we could do that.
Let's see if we just go through this. How we know we're alive. There's also I replayed Monument Valley, which was amazing.
Oh man, haven't thought about that game in a while.
Quill This Love is another free itch game.
That sounds like
that's
innuendo.
really short. It's like 15 minutes, but it's really good and weirdly replayable.
That's cool.
Missed Messages is really intense. It's about dealing with how to possibly help people that might be having What's the oh my god, what's the YouTube safe way to say it?
It's about mental health issues.
It's about helping people who are having difficulty with self-preservation.
I understand.
And
That's a very important topic.
This is a very important topic. Signifier, which is not an indie game, technically.
Not Signalis.
Is really interesting. It weirdly relates to AI in art. Before that was even a concept. But like AI, how AI could help possibly in psychology.
That's cool.
And how it could possibly be, they don't get into it, but how it could possibly be terrible for crime scene investigation.
Excuse me, that's completely incorrect.
Yeah, right.
Because, fuck.
Which the main
what's that
character in the
What's
game
that Tom Cruise movie?
has an issue with.
The Philip K. Dick novel. Minority Report.
Yeah.
Minority Report has told me otherwise.
Yes. I think...
Is there one among this pile? It's Alan Wake 2. What the fuck are we
It's
doing?
Alan Wake 2. Yeah, it's Alan Wake 2. I mean, it's...
That game is art house in a real way.
But
That's as reflective.
I felt the gameplay for me was more enjoyable than Alan Wake 1.
It's better by a mile.
I felt it was significantly less frustrating. Sure, you don't have the weird sprint thing, but that you had in Alan Wake 1. But it also, this is the thing.
Do people really care about that?
Somebody who worked on sets and who knows sort of how similar, not remotely the same, but similar it is to like working on a what do you call it? Like on a construction site, is you don't run. Like the most you run is a jog at most, but it's generally speed walking because you have no idea how much energy you're going to need for anything else. And so like I appreciated that more than the weird sprint for 3 seconds in Alan Wake 1.
Are you saying that people also like don't just run at full speed and then stop and then run at full speed?
Yeah. Whereas in Alan Wake 2, you can just be doing like your little jog thing forever. And I
never felt too slow in that game.
Definitely better than a walking simulator.
Oh yeah.
Definitely nowhere near as...
Suck it, Gone Home.
If you've played... Gone Home is super speed compared to everybody's Gone to the Rapture. If you played that game, anything that is faster than that is a sprint.
Boy. Notch 2 for playing Pathologic, anyway.
But yeah, that just the you said the Koskela brothers stuff. The fact that both Koskela brothers are the same actor,
Yeah.
and
And that actor dies and then still acts. And it's amazing.
and there's just like weird shit. Like, did you know that one of the people in the Oh Dear Diner coffee mugs, like suit mascots, is one of the Koskela brothers' sons?
What?
Canonically,
How did you find that out?
I would. Like, it's just wild. But yeah, like,
Why is that a fact?
I don't know.
He's gonna be in the DLC.
But it's I don't know. It's just like
it's Jesse Faden's
just-
brother. It's
like-
Dylan Faden. That's who it is.
weird stuff. I mean, like that. Every piece of like literature in the game has meaning. Like if there's a word anywhere, it is important.
Yeah. Or if you find Casper Darling's book in a place, it probably means that
Yeah.
place is fucked up
Yeah.
and is connected to the multiverse.
Yeah. I also love that there's really two totally different ways you could play the game, even if you're playing on Nightmare versus Easy or whatever. And that unlike Alan Wake 1, you can still get all the collectibles, but that 99% of the fights in the game, unless it's a boss fight, you can walk away from it.
I never even tried.
You don't have to deal with most of the fights when you're just like in the what do you call it? Like in any of the forests or whatever. You can just run straight past.
Like when the wolves randomly show up.
Yeah, you can just run right. You can just run past.
But what if I'm scared?
That is That is an issue.
The fucking streetlights always go out when those wolves show up.
I don't know. I love these superimposing real life stuff because all of that stuff is what was done just for like style points. I will say, in Control, heightens the horror
Oh yeah.
in like a real way in Alan Wake 2. And even like the jump scare stuff. Like I played the game I think 3 times, and on my 3rd time I forgot that there were some jump scares and I still freaked out.
You mean when like Alan, when you get the fucked up Alan face, or I guess Mr. Scratch?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the when you die as Alan, and it shows him and he's like head is covered in blood and he's just like dead on the floor. Like that stopped Alexandra in her tracks. She's like, what happened?
Yeah. I mean the fact that there's a 17-minute art house film in the movie.
Oh, you mean Uten U?
Like
Nightless Night?
Yeah.
I watched that whole thing.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just awesome.
I love
It does everything
that.
in many ways that a AAA horror game would do. And all the things that all the things that a horror game would do. Like who would think that you would get that Saga Anderson's Mind Place thing would be both just a cataloging system and then also at a certain point of the game a literal storytelling and like mechanic and narrative device.
Right. They flip it on you when you meet the Anderson brothers.
Yeah.
When you meet your grandpa and your uncle. And suddenly it's like, "Oh yeah, you're a seer." What?
Yeah.
They just tell you that shit and then it just makes sense.
Yeah.
That's I mean, I agree with everything you've said. I think that Alan Wake also writes its characters in a way where they're just like, this is life. This is a Cauldron Lake and there's a dark place and
Yeah.
we got to investigate it. And the story is going to take over the world. And like, no one's like stupid. Like even Barry in Alan Wake 1,
Yeah.
arguably the character most primed to be stupid, was still like, this is real. It's fucked up,
Yeah.
but we got to solve it. We can't just run away like idiots.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that DLC and everything that
Yeah.
that team does, and I love Control, and I can't wait for Control 2. And my favorite part of Alan Wake is that part where Alex Casey got an award from Jeff Keighley,
That's your favorite part?
which is canon to Alan Wake. Tying it back to why we're here, the Game Awards. Tying
Yeah.
it back.
And with that, we will shoot this off to the old gods of Asgard, who technically won a lot of awards this
Yep.
year, including the God of War ones.
Yeah, in many capacities, Thor and Odin have won.
The world
Things.
over. If they couldn't win in their game, they won in somebody else's.
Yeah.
And
Thanks.
with that, the game of the year.
Hang on, tell me, what's the best game of the year?
Dredge.
You heard it here, folks. Goodbye,
Right there
everyone.
first. The best game of the year was How Fish is Made.
What?
Good night and good luck.
What?